Good morning. If I can have everyone's attention, we have 9 members. We'll have a quorum shortly, but I would like to have everyone come to attention because we do have a special presentation today, and I would like to recognize Councilmember Villaraigosa for the presentation.
If I could call up the CalArts family and the young students from Monterey High School. Come on up. Just about all of you, right? Let's come on up. We don't have the drums here? I'd love to play them, yeah. Yeah. Come on up, Stephen. We have everybody? It's a real pleasure today to introduce the CalArts Community Art Program, CAP, which links CalArts University in Valencia with those of community groups across Los Angeles to provide free college-level arts education to middle and high school students. And I'm very proud to say that I'm a CalArts board trustee, and I'm most proud that CAP was one of only 17 organizations honored with the Coming Up Taller Award this past December, and in fact the only honoree in Southern California. CAP courses mirror the CalArts distinctive model, emphasizing one-on-one mentoring and a broad interdisciplinary approach to art making. Moreover, all the courses culminate with public performances and exhibitions, concerts, and screenings totaling more than 250 each year. These events help to reinforce the connections between young artists and their communities. And I'm very excited today because this CAP program is something that CalArts is very proud of. It's grounded in a belief that the power of art to change lives and to provide an important cultural voice for youth is an essential element to this initiative. And I can tell you that today we have these great young people from Monterey High School. Monterey High School is an alternative high school. Some of these young people are here and have had some bumps along the road, but they're young people that have great talent. And earlier today we got to hear them use the drum and the congas in a way that really demonstrates that talent. And what the CAP program has done, everyone, is use music and art in a way to allow young people to flower. Young people who maybe didn't realize they had the talent within them. Young people who, once they get turned on to that talent, not only realize that they have a musical talent, but also get turned on to school and success. And so our community's teenagers unfortunately lack the access to high-quality arts programs and state-of-the-art computer training. The result of this is a loss of knowledge and competitiveness in educational and employment opportunities. And the CAP program is able to provide local teens with valuable tools essential to being an artist in our society and a more profound sense of being a valued part of our community. This program serves over 300 students involving 50 CalArts faculty members each year. And for those of you who don't know, CalArts is one of the finest fine arts and performing arts universities anywhere in the nation, and we're very, very proud of them, but we're especially proud of this CalArts CAP program. It's a model not just for the city and the region, but a model for the nation, and today we honor them and these young people from Monterey High School. I have the opportunity to present a resolution, but before I do, I'd like to allow Stephen Levine, the president of the university, to say a few words. Stephen.
Thank you. We're very pleased and proud to be here. 15 years ago, we started the Community Arts Partnership as a way to connect CalArts with Los Angeles and all its glory and all its troubles. These years later, something on the order of 200,000 students have received pre-college arts training at CAP. Each year, 300 of our students at CalArts are teaching on the order of 10,000 young people around the city, with all the results you know about. I know you have a lot of important work to do. I want to thank you for one piece of that important work. Over the years, the Cultural Affairs Department has been an absolutely crucial supporter of the Community Arts Partnership, directly responsible for helping the lives of thousands and thousands of young kids, with us and with many others. I look around the room and I know many of you, including the councilman, were the people who came forward to save the Cultural Affairs Department when it was challenged. And on behalf of young people all over Los Angeles and artists all over Los Angeles, and the future of our creative community in Los Angeles. I thank you for that support, and I thank the councilman.
Thank you. I'd also like, we heard from our esteemed president, but I'd also like the CAP director, Glenna Avila, to say a few words. She's the person responsible for making this wonderful program such a success, and now a esteemed honoree for the Growing Taller Award. Please help me in welcoming Glenna Avila.
Thank you very much for letting us come today to and to honor us with this award. We're really thankful to all of you for your support of the arts and the Cultural Affairs Department, as well as the support of the Community Arts Partnership. If you were outside a little earlier, we got to hear this wonderful music by the students who are standing behind me from Monterey High School. They are just one example of all of the many students that we work with on a daily basis, 6 days a week, throughout the city of Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. We have in-school programs, after-school programs, weekend programs, and these are all programs that are offered free of charge to middle school and high school students throughout LA. So this program is inclusive, it's accessible to every student in the city, and these are the programs that not only educate our young people, but give them critical thinking skills, leadership skills, and the ability to connect with something in their life that is very meaningful. And on our part, that meaningful experience comes from the arts. So thank you very much for letting us be here today. Thank you, Councilman and the Mayor and the rest of the City Council. We really value your support of these programs for young people.
Thank you. Let me also recognize Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa, for acknowledging them today. And I had the pleasure of meeting your president, it's probably now almost 5 or 6 years ago when I was at DreamWorks, and we funded their program, and Jeffrey Katzenberg is particularly active in wanting to make sure that the CAP program continued. And it is such a wonderful project and program that not only has the city support through Cultural Affairs, but your campus and your leadership has made it an investment. And I think for those of you young people that are here understand that they've made it an investment in you as well. And so I want to say thank you to all of you for your investment. And we look forward to you being part of a wonderful arts, I think, family that we have here in the city of Los Angeles. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you, Mr. Villaraigosa.
Thank you. I just want to add, because I didn't, just so you know the scope of the CAP program, they've worked with more than 200,000 youth, mounted more than 2,500 performances at 250 interviews, and have presented their work to a collective audience of more than 400,000 individuals, training more than 20,000 students. I would submit to you, while this is a wonderful example of a great university giving back to a community, they've been enriched by the participation of these young people as much as they've enriched them. And so we're really proud of all of you, and I just know some of you are going to be congueros and musicians and artists and successful, wonderful people, and we're very, very proud of you. So congratulations, and on behalf of the City of Los Angeles and my colleagues on the council, I'd like to present you with this resolution commemorating the years, the 15 years, and also your new success receiving the Coming Up Taller Award. Congratulations, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember, and to the students and CalArts. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Garcetti, Gruelhan, Labange, Ledlow, Miskowski, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Smith, Villaraigosa, Weisstein, Padilla, 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
All right, we do have a quorum. As is customary on Tuesdays, we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Let me recognize Councilmember Ludlow to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you, Madam President. Could I ask everyone in the chambers to please rise, face the flag, join with me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk?
First order of business is approval of the minutes.
Mr. Smith moves, Mr. Zine seconds. The minutes are approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
They are also approved.
Madam President, this is the time for comments from the public on items not on council's agenda.
Let's go through the agenda first and call the item special.
On the regular agenda, Madam President, there is a request to continue several matters, items 11, 17, 18, 24, 25, and 26, and the request is for 30 days, and the new date would be March 18th.
Is there any objection to the continuance of those items to
No, I would
March?
just add item number 15 also for 30 days.
All right, inclusive of item 15, we have a request to continue those for 30 days. Seeing no objection, those are continued, and the new hearing will be on March 18th.
On the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearing, items 1 and 2 are street lighting districts, and council recommendation would be to open the hearings and continue the hearings and ordinances to March 1st.
Let me open the public hearing on items 1 and 2. I see no cards. Are there anyone here who would like to speak on those items? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and continue those items as the clerk has recommended to March 1st.
Next items are also public hearing. Items 3 through 8 are building and safety items. The department has recommended that items 3 and 7 can be received and filed inasmuch as the assessment has been paid.
All right, those items are now before us with the recommendation to receive and file 3 and 7. Any other items?
There's also requests on item number 6 to continue that matter for 1 week, and that would be February 15th. And then the department is recommending that items 4, 5, and 8 can be confirmed.
All right, we have the recommendation before us on those items. Seeing no request to speak, those items are before us with the recommendations. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved.
Next item is item number 9. That's also a public hearing item, and that's condemnation for sewer project in Council District 11.
There are no cards on that, so the matter is before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That matter is approved.
And the ordinance will go over 1 week to February 15th.
All right.
The next items are items for which public hearings have been held, items 10 through 23.
Items 10 through 23 are before us. Public hearings have been held already. To open the public hearing, we would need a motion. Ms. Gruhl.
Yes, we just like to call item number 13 special.
Item 13 is called special. Any other items, members, 10 through 23? Seeing none, those matters are before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved.
And the ordinance on item number 10 will go over for 1 week.
All right.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 24 through 34. 10 votes are required for consideration.
There is a card on 32, so we will call that special. We will open the hearing and close the hearing on the remaining items. Those matters are now before us, 27 through 34. Any specials? Any specials, council members? Seeing none, those matters are before us. Open the roll, close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
Those are approved.
Next item, Madam President, on the supplemental agenda, item number 35 is an item for which public hearing has been held.
Members, there's been a request from Council President to have that item sent back to Budget and Finance. Discuss that with the Controller, who had no objections, so that will be the order on 35.
Next item is item number 36, and that is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
There are no cards on 36, so I will open the hearing and close the hearing. The matters before us. Mr. Parks?
Special.
We will call item 36 special. All right. Before we return to the items that have been called special, now is the time for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. There are 2 cards that have been submitted. Let me call Addie Miller and Mervyn Evans.
Good morning, council members of the City of Los Angeles. I'm Addie M. Miller, and I'm here to, first of all, I seen the children here, and I was so happy to see them getting awards, and it just touched my heart. And it also, I wanted to cry because we had a young boy at 10 years old, or 11 years old, was shot 10 times. And I'm here to ask you, the City Council, to do a full investigation. I believe Officer Gonzalez, a 9-year veteran, probably panicked when he shot the little boy. And what I would like to do is that our community also failed, that they do a more of an outreach to reach our children that's troubled in our community. I want to thank you, and I hope that a full investigation of the shooting of this little boy be taking place, and also a psychological evaluation of Officer Gonzalez.
Thank you. Mervyn Evans, who will be followed by Candida Morris.
If there were ever a case for, my name is Mervyn Evans, I'm a resident of Los Angeles. If there were ever a case for a Department of Urban Affairs, this is the case. This young man was shot by a reckless situation. There is no way, shape, or form, Mr. Zine or Mr. Smith, that an officer should engage a suspect without properly acquiring the target, know what he's shooting at, and then take the person down. 10 shots, that's no fire control, that's no discipline, that reflects a 9-year veteran on a night situation with a 13-year-old child who may not have even known how to park a car. Shooting people in the back while they're in a motor vehicle when the officer's life's not in jeopardy is a questionable practice. It's my personal hope that this City Council will conduct open public hearings where all of the issues can be spelled out, where the officer's given the benefit of the doubt, where he can come in and publicly say what he felt, what was happening, not something that's crowded in fear, not something that is emotionalized or racially used by haters in the city. But I think one other issue here is that we failed, that every single member of this City Council failed, that that young person did not have the proper social skills, did not have the moral foundation, that our education system didn't work. Mr. Parks, you're a member of council too, all right? This is an important issue. You are a top-end police professional. Somebody being shot in your a child being shot in your district in the back at night under questionable conditions you should be leading out on that. And I really hope you do.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Candida Morris.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to speak on item 35, which had to do with the creation of a fraud, waste, and abuse investigation unit in the Office of the Controller, but that's been put off to another date, or I believe sent back to committee. When we talk about retaliation, and again, I apologize for being here before you because I have been here for the last year bringing small businesses, bringing city workers who feel that they've been retaliated because of the situation with certain contracts. Here I stand before you today to ask you, to plead with you, to help me save my wife who's down to 79 pounds because of the stress that we've been placed under because of my being appointed to the Small Local Business Advisory Committee. We were created And the statement is right here. We were created to promote small business growth in the city of Los Angeles. And when we went to look at mega contracts and how we were able to bring those down, we met with different departments. I met with one individual from one of the departments, and he offered to put everything that I did on as far as business with the department, and all of us were business individuals who were appointed to this. He offered to put those on contract for me, and I said no, I would rather go out to open bid like everybody else. There's where the retaliation started, over and over again, case after case, and I will pass out a file that I would like to have you look at. Twice, an item that I bid openly and won was taken away from me. That individual came before the Energy and Commerce Committee and openly lied to you, and said that if you went to the warehouse, that the item that he replaced my item with was a product that was safe. It didn't end there. What happens now? I received a memo on Friday stating that they're still going to take that product away from me, not based on because I was not the lowest bidder, but because they're saying it is unsafe. Yet the California's fire marshal, in my letter to you, Madam President and other council members, stated that the tent was one that met all specs for fire retardant. When is this going to stop? Madam President, council members, please. This cannot continue. I ask for your help, and I would like to have these passed out. Thank you.
Could the sergeant please take that material to distribute? Thank you. That does close the public hearing and brings us back to the items that were called special. Madam Clerk?
First item called special was item number 13, and that was called special by Councilmember Gruhl.
Let me recognize Councilmember Gruhl.
Thank you, Madam Chair and colleagues. I just wanted to highlight, along with my colleague Eric Garcetti, we introduced this motion to go on record, and many of us participated in a press conference this morning with the faces, as Mr. Garcetti, I think, aptly said this morning, of the potential cuts that have been proposed in the federal budget. 15 to 50% have been discussed, and we believe that it is an opportunity for us to go on record and indicate that we will not accept these cuts, that these cuts affect child care, these cuts affect our elderly housing, they affect our programs with persons with AIDS, and as I pointed out this morning, it affects someone like a gentleman named Melaku from Arminta Elementary School, as part of LA's Best, and went to the space camp as part of the LA's Best program. These kids' lives are being saved by the money we receive through the Community Development Block Grant. So we stand here today, and I'm certain it will be unanimous, going on record saying these cuts are not acceptable. We, as the state of California and the city of Los Angeles, deserve our fair share. And we've been called in recent, and I'm not sure exactly who has said this, but I think many of us think about it, is we're the donor state. We give more money to the federal government than we get back. And this issue of Community Development Block Grant dollars is too important for us to not stand up and let our voices be heard. So I ask for an aye vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and let me start by thanking Councilmember Wendy Gruhl, who well knows and for years has seen the impact of block grant funding here in Los Angeles through her work in Mayor Bradley's office when she was at HUD, and each one of us around this horseshoe know the difference that these dollars make in our district. We have worked very hard here in Los Angeles to continue to partner with the federal government to make block grant monies not only accountable, but to ensure that the oversight happens not just at the federal level, but the local level, that we spend out money in a timely fashion, that we do it in a way that reflects poverty in our city, and we know how precious and how little those dollars are. It's like a sponge that just absorbs them every time we put another drop in there, because the need is so great, whether it's Mr. Ludlow talking and Mr. Reyes who talk about the need for youth intervention. Block grant money goes towards that. Whether it's looking at a greener city and a few parcels of land where we're able to actually build parks where nobody has a park within walking distance, block grant does that. Whether it's seniors that Mr. Labange and his committee talks about to make sure that seniors have the improvements in their homes to give them a decent quality of living. This is a bipartisan program that enjoyed support from the moment in March 1964 when President Johnson declared a war on poverty, and eventually that led to the block grants. It was under President Nixon that it expanded, President Ford that it went further, President Carter, even President Reagan favored bringing more money to the local governments so we could make decisions about combating poverty. We will put more people out on the streets. We will have fewer people getting out of gang crime, and I appreciate the poignant words this morning about what it means when young people don't have those opportunities and how we fail as a society. But as I said outside, this wartime president doesn't back down from a good fight, and he shouldn't back down from the fight against poverty. And when we look at the $1.4 billion he's proposing to cut nationally, and we look at $9 billion that we can't even find in Iraq right now, that's missing someplace. When we look at the priorities of this nation, this is not about fiscal discipline. You don't have to tell this body here about fiscal discipline, because we've seen the federal government shift its costs onto us. Federal Clean Water Act, we used to have $8 billion, now we have $1 billion. So we had to pass Proposition O to comply with that ourselves. When we have cuts in the COPS program, which was proposed yesterday as well, though we have our grant from last year in place, how are we going to sustain police officers? That was a bipartisan program that Democrats and Republicans alike supported. So today I want to thank Councilmember Gruhl. I know that so many of you that were out there, Councilmember Perry, Councilmember Smith, Councilmember Zine, Councilmember Hahn, Councilmember Ludlow, and everybody who could have been there supports this together. But make sure our voices are heard loud and clear, and let's roll back this war on the poor.
Councilmember Zine.
Thank you, Madam President, and to my colleagues, the Mayor and Congressman Watson, who was with us this morning. This affects all of us in Los Angeles. This affects everyone from San Pedro to the Valley, from the west side to the east side. And this morning we saw all the children that will be affected. And interesting, during our news conference with the Mayor, a gentleman mentioned to me that there's a center in the Valley that helps the blind. He said if it wasn't for this program, people who are blind would not have a resource, would not have a center to go to. Not the Braille Institute, but another center in the San Fernando Valley that he mentioned is funded. I know that in Canoga Park, many of our improvements in that area because of the grants that have been given. And when we look at the $15 million that has been cut, we're looking at fewer police officers, and we're struggling now on this half-cent sales tax regarding the deployment of police officers, members of the fire department, and it's all about our money. As mentioned earlier, we're not asking for handouts. We're asking for our money that we're paying in taxes to come back to our community for services to the people of this city. It is not a partisan issue. It's an issue about people, quality of life, and giving back to the people who pay the taxes the dollars to use in the community. The state government has taken funds out of the city. Our transportation dollars have been directed in other directions, and now the federal government wants to take additional dollars that should be coming back to our city. So I join the mayor, I join the congresswoman and my colleagues. Again, this is going to affect every single district. It's not the rich versus the poor. Every single district, 4 million people in this city will be impacted if we don't receive these dollars and they're not restored. So hopefully the lobbying in Congress will be successful. We know that when a budget is presented, oftentimes there's adjustments. Those adjustments can be made so the people of our community of Los Angeles will be able to enjoy a quality of life, whether it be the homeless person or the young child or the returning veteran that's looking for work. They'll all benefit from these dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. There are no other council members who wish to speak, so the item, the report from Housing and Community Development, is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. We'll send that forthwith.
Next item, Madam President, item number 32 was called special for a card from the public.
We do have a card submitted on item 32. Ms. Joyce Dillard, please come forward.
Good morning. This motion is for to waive fees for an annual ceremony to honor Kutmotak, and you'll have to excuse me if I pronounce terms that aren't familiar to me. And it sounds simple, but we really have problems. It's been an annual ceremony for years. There's no sponsor on this. The event coordinator is Virginia Carmelo, an individual. She's a tribal council person on the Gabrielino Tongva tribe. This tribe, Gabrielino Tongva, is actively pursuing an Indian reservation and casino opportunities in the city of Compton. They were state recognized, but they're not federal recognized because they're landless. These two bills were introduced last year, 2004. So it's a new situation. It may be prior sponsorships. I put in here both bills remain pending, but really not. I looked at last year, the 2273 was tabled, basically. But the reservation is open. Ms. Carmelo is also the director of the Chipe Totec Dancetas Aztecas, a performing dance troupe. This group received a Neighborhood Matching Fund grant in 2003, but they're neither a formal partnership or corporation. But this kind of grant doesn't qualify for that. The Chipe Totec Dancetas Aztecas were historically prisoners who were stripped nude and sacrificed. They weren't a performing troupe as they are today. The Mexica movement sponsors the Anahuac Studies Club and freely leaves literature announcing their events at libraries in our Northeast area. And we attach some literature. It's very inflammatory if you read the attachments. They are declaring the indigenous tribes of Mexico, Central America, and Native America to be one Anahuac nation. They claim their lands are stolen. They claim crimes have been committed by people of European descent. They want the rights to the wealth and possession of the land. Now, this is a dangerous message, especially in the world of terrorism. If you look at other parts of the world, this is what's going on right now. We cannot let history be fictional or rewritten under today's cultural standards and systems, and I must say, that can be quite common unless leadership comes through. The city of LA has allowed a business with a variance from Municipal Code 12.2B for a penny arcade in a C4 zone, and C4 is churches and schools. They've also allowed the sale of dispensing of beer and wine for on-site consumption in this. This business was called Las Villas. Its project name was Villas Palacios, and talking about CDBG money, it received $1.5 million for this. Now, this business wants 140 video machines. That's why they applied for the variance.
Ms. Dillard, this is a special event ceremony. It's not a variance request, so just please speak to the subject of the special event.
Okay, well, this introduces gaming, and this is my point. You have a special event without a sponsor. Lincoln Heights is in the original Spanish land grants, which we feel we're being threatened with casino gaming in the future. And you've taken oaths. We just took a Pledge of Allegiance. And I want to say there are other people like Professor Furman Herrera, who I want to compliment, who's done quite fine work in the Nahuatl language and is very professional. But I believe that as you sponsor events like this, you have to be aware of the true cultural history and not promote hate, division, or something that we feel is threatening us, casino gambling. Thank you.
Thank you. This motion is now before us for a special event in CD1. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved.
Item number 36 was called special by Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks, item 36.
Thank you. Be right back. Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to ask Building and Safety and LAPD to come up to the table, please. Colleagues, this is an issue that came to light recently in Leimert Park, in which may be occurring in other parts of the city, primarily because although we have two departments that do outstanding in inspections and evaluations of specific issues, with the police department doing annual inspections of gun stores and Building and Safety doing inspections of facilities and maintaining issues and material regarding zoning. There are times in which businesses convert from one business to another and do not follow the proper procedures, and we end up with a situation as we are in Leimert Park, where a business starting off as a bank moves into a pawn shop, then a gun store, clearly getting proper permits from the police as far as the gun business, but not getting proper permits from Building and Safety as the conversion of the business. And so I'd like to ask Building and Safety to give us an update, and then we'd ask the police department to give us an overview of their inspection program, and then I believe how we might merge those two inspection programs to make sure that when we have these in the future, that both departments are aware.
Good morning. My name is Dave Keim, and I'm the Chief of Building and Safety's Code Enforcement Bureau. We received a referral from Councilman Park's office last week, as well as from the Mayor's office, and a request to inspect a facility at 3423 West 43rd, Botoc Tactical, as well as another building directly across the street at 4345 South Crenshaw. We found the building on 43rd, after we researched the property records, had been converted over the years without the required building permit and certificate of occupancy. Originally, that building was built as a bank around 1930, and it had been converted to a warehouse for the sales of various kinds of police and military gear, as well as weapons. Directly across the street on Crenshaw, that building had been approved as a nightclub and had been also converted to a warehouse use, although they were not storing weapons or ammunition in that facility. We issued orders to comply to the property owner as well as to the business owner at both locations, requiring them to either discontinue the use or file for all the appropriate permits from building and safety and or planning. There are some zoning issues on the property, especially at 43rd Place, in that gun sales requires a conditional use permit since 1992. As well as that, the specific plan in that area prohibits gun sales. So our orders to comply are outstanding at this point. They have until March 5th to comply completely. Mr. Botosh, the business owner, we inspected the facility again last Friday. He had traded up most of the weapons and the ammunition and has informed us that today or this evening that the ATF is going to supervise the removal of those weapons to another location, and we have an appointment to meet with him at the facility tomorrow to ensure that they've been removed from the site.
Could you give us some idea, and I know that the records are not clear, but some idea when these transitions may have occurred?
It's our understanding, Mr. Potash tells us that he originally converted the use around 1991 to a pawnbroker or pawn dealership, and since that time it's expanded into this internet sales organization and mail order type of business and a factory or a warehouse type of use.
Would he have been required to make a building permit change to go into a pawn shop?
Absolutely. They would have required a change of use from that original bank use to a retail sales.
Okay. And then if he had done that properly, he'd have to make another change to go into the gun store and equipment business.
In fact, he would have required an application for a conditional use permit after 1992 to do any kind of gun sales or ammunition sales at that location, notwithstanding the issue with the specific plan, which prohibits that use now.
Okay. What is the earliest that we can determine from his statements as to when he went into the tactical business?
Sometime in the early to mid-90s, Councilman. He's not real clear on that with us.
Okay. And so that there was a lot of community concern as to the type of business. Was this a retail gun store?
That's not, he tells us that he sells retail. He does not admit that he does any wholesale sales there, but he says almost all of his business, he tells us, is mail order or internet sales.
Okay. So there was some concern in the community about whether a person in the community could just walk up and purchase a gun at the door. Is that possible?
He wouldn't really directly answer that to us, so we're not sure.
Okay. So primarily mail order? And
mail order and internet sales, yes.
And it also said primarily dealing with government entities.
He informed us that he deals with federal agencies, including the FBI, the Secret Service, military organizations, and other law enforcement police departments throughout the United States.
Okay. Could you give me an idea of what's now is the process that you've served him with the notice? What happens next?
As I mentioned before, we'll confirm tomorrow that he's discontinued the gun sales. If that's the case, he has until March 5th to either discontinue the use of that building or both of the buildings as a warehouse, or to at least file plans and apply for all the necessary permits to legalize the business to a warehouse use, which would be permitted under normal circumstances, notwithstanding the gun or ammunition sales.
Okay, if he should go forward on that, then that requires a public hearing?
I believe he may need to especially if there's a wholesale element to this, he would require public hearing with planning. There'd be some planning relief he'd need to see.
Okay. And the Crenshaw specific plan came into play, what, about 2 months ago? So that would be the guiding principle for new permits or conditional use permits?
Absolutely, that's correct.
All right, very good. Thank you. Let me ask from the police department, could you give us an overview of what type and how often you inspect gun stores?
Well, this is Lieutenant Steve Nielsen, LAPD Detective Support Division, and I'm the officer in charge of the gun unit.
And thank you for rushing over. I'm sorry we gave you
quite all right.
Right.
As I say, my time is your time. It's evolved over the last several years. The LAPD used to have several inspection teams, 6 officers, 3 teams to inspect gun stores citywide, but due to the exodus of gun stores in the city of LA, we're down to a number that I have 2 officers assigned on a part-time basis to do inspections because with the number of stores, it doesn't keep them busy full-time.
Okay. Well, how many do we have?
Well, we have approximately 27 or 28 that have retail licenses, but of those, about 14 or 15 actually do retail sales. The others are people who have the licenses but don't actually engage in the sale.
Do we have any similar to what the Votoc situation?
In regards to
the mail order type business?
I'm not certain.
Okay. One thing, when you do the inspections, have we in the past contacted Building and Safety about the permitting process for the building as you inspect the building, the process for actually selling the guns?
That's not normally our process. When someone applies to have a gun store in the city through the police commission notifies us, and we do an on-site inspection to ensure that they comply with the laws of having the bars up and such like that. But we haven't been in the past involved in that aspect of it as far as zoning and such. That again, it wasn't in our area of expertise.
What is one from Building and Safety standpoint? Where do you see that we could link up where your department and the police commission or police department getting these permits to open gun stores or their inspection of gun stores, where we can be assured that the building is also in compliance?
Well, in keeping with your motion, Councilman, item 4, what we plan to do is meet with representatives of your office and LAPD in the next week or so for the purpose of developing a program where we can go look at the 20-plus existing facilities that are licensed by the appropriate agencies to see if they're in conformance with building permits and zoning laws. And in addition to that, I think we could set up a system whereby any new applications to the Police Commission for licensing would be referred to Building and Safety to ensure the same conditions.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in such quick response to that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Ludlow.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me, if I could just ask a couple questions before you walk away. First of all, I want to thank Councilmember Parks for jumping on this. And when we look at the policy development on both the CUP and on the building and safety permits, both of those processes involve a public hearing. Is that correct? At some point in the process?
The conditional use permit may require hearing by planning department councilmen, or an exemption to the specific plan may as well. A normal building permit just to change the use of a building, if it's allowed by right, would not have a public hearing process, no. For gun sales, that's a different issue. Just for a warehouse use from a bank would not require a public hearing. Under normal circumstances in commercial zones.
So when as you begin to move forward on this, are you looking at, given the sensitivity of gun sales in the city, that the linkage there would possibly involve an absolute public hearing under any circumstance? Is that something that you're looking at?
Well, as I said, any new application, we're going to look at the existing facilities that we know about in the city, some 20-plus facilities. We'll work with LAPD on that. And any new applications to the Police Commission, we can set up a system whereby they refer them to us, and we'll ensure that they go through the normal planning process to obtain conditional use permits, depending on where it is in the city, in terms of specific plan requirements as well. Yes.
And what role does ATF play in the licensing process of distributing guns?
ATF is the licensees on those. They have to file a request with ATF to get a federal firearms license in order to sell or buy and sell firearms, and they have to go through a background check and such. But most anybody, as long as they have a good background, could get a federal firearms license by paying the fee and making the application, and it's renewable every 2 years, I believe.
So as we're going through the process, again, looking at the new policy, looking at creating a link that clearly didn't exist in this case, and any one of us could have this same situation happen in our districts, that seems like a third link and an opportunity for people in the community to be involved, some type of mechanism. I don't want to use a word to give the analogy, but something that engages when a permit has been requested or a license has been requested through ATF, because that seems like that'd be even an earlier announcement that the process is starting.
Right. Yeah, with ATF, they do require the applicant to be in compliance with any local, state or local ordinances involving that business. However, they are restricted in regards to they have to complete their investigation within 60 days from the day of the application. So they don't have the opportunity to do a large-scale background investigation and such that we would have an opportunity to do for somebody who is applying for a business license or something.
Okay. I'll close, although I should have asked the whole time. But the motion that's before us I think is an important opportunity, and I appreciate the way that Councilmember Parks has brought this in. A number of us really want to be involved, be kept included, both as building and safety and the police department go down this path, because this clearly looked like, at a minimum, an area where we didn't have proper linkage, and I don't think anybody's pointing a finger immediately, but we clearly want to close this gap. It's petrifying to a lot of people that we could have this type of gun sales and distribution happening in our own neighborhood and not having had an opportunity to engage in it. The last thing is, did I understand you to say that they are to be out by tonight?
Actually, Mr. Botosh, the business owner, has indicated to us that tonight, we verified on Friday that he had packed up the weapons into crates and the ammunition, and he tells us that tonight, in the evening hours, that the ATF will be supervising the relocation of those outside of the city at another location. He's also indicated to us that his desire now is to move the entire business out of the city, including the non-firearm types of weapons that he sells, or other equipment, rather.
Thank you, Mr. Ludlow. That matter is now before us to approve the recommendation of motion. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. What is remaining on the desk, Madam Clerk?
Madam President, the council has motions.
All right, let me recognize Mr. Garcetti for an introduction.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I want to thank Deborah Kreuter, an instructor who's here. We've got students from visiting us from Beijing. Welcome to Los Angeles. It's wonderful to have you here. Ni hao ma. We've got, let me name, Mark, Tian Tian, Pinky, and Sherry. Please rise and please join me in a round of applause. Welcome to Los Angeles. And we hope you enjoy your stay here very much. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome. Madam Clerk?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Garcetti requests to be excused Tuesday, February 15th to leave at 12:30. That meets council policy.
Mr. Garcetti is excused on that date.
Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Wednesday, February 9th and Friday, February 11th for personal business. That meets council policy.
Mr. Parks is excused.
Councilmember Gosa requests to be excused Tuesday, February 15th to leave at 11:30. A motion is required.
Mr. Smith moves, Ms. Hahn seconds. Mr. Villaraigosa is excused to leave early on that date.
And that clears the desk.
The desk is cleared. Members, are there any announcements? Mr. Smith.
Yes, Madam President, you know, Mr. Zine and I got a lot of publicity last year on the Starsky and Hutch thing of ours. I understand we have another one that wants to follow suit with a Cagney and Lacey revival, and Ms. Gruhl wants to be a police officer. I got an application for you, Wendy, right here. You can be a reserve officer, you and your staff, we'd love to have you.
Thank you, Mr.
She's already wearing blue, so you know what? You're there, Wendy.
Any other announcements? Are there any announcements? Adjourning motions. All right, we do have adjourning motions. Could I ask everyone in the audience to please rise? A quick announcement from Mr. Garcetti.
I'm sorry, Madam President. One announcement. Last night kicked off Hollywood in Black and White for Black History Month at the Hollywood History Museum. I know, I believe Councilmember Parks was there, and Mr. Ludlow. I know Diane Watson was. It's going to be running all month. Great exhibition of the contributions of African Americans in Hollywood, where Hollywood has sometimes led the charge and other times dragged its feet in the quest to achieve racial equality here in America. But it's a great exhibition. I want to thank Danelle Dadigan and all the staff of the Hollywood History Museum and encourage people to go there, right there at the corner of Hollywood and Highland in the old historic Max Factor building, to go see this great exhibition. Thanks.
Thank you for that announcement. Let me now recognize Mr. Ludlow for tribute.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I ask that we adjourn in memory of longtime city employee Henry J. Graff, Captain 2 for the LA Fire Department, who passed away last night. I'm going to just read this official statement from the Los Angeles Fire Department. Today, the Los Angeles Fire Department lost an outstanding officer and friend. Captain 2 Henry J. Graff was a loyal employee for the Los Angeles Fire Department for 31 years. To his fire department family and friends, he was commonly known as Jay. Captain Graff has been a fixture in South Los Angeles for many years, where he dedicated his love for the fire department, his comrades, and the public he served. He was a strong man who loved high activity and the daily challenges of the fire service. Captain Graff was regarded as an exceptional officer and was highly respected by his peers and those who had the pleasure of working around him. His presence and his experience will be sorely missed. He was born February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1947, hired as a firefighter November 4th, 1973, promoted to Captain 1, July 6, 1986, promoted to Captain 2, May 20th, 1990. Recent assignment, Fire Station 94, effective June 3rd, 1990. Military service, was a member of the Army prior to joining the LA Fire Department. Currently resides in Yorba Linda, married to Janice A. Carver Graff. They have 2 children, Heather, age 20, a college student at the University of Montana, a stepson, Randy, age 24, is also survived by a brother, John P. Graff. On a personal note, I know the members of Fire Station 94 today are absolutely in shock. Many of them who are given the opportunity to leave today and go home, they're immediately greeted this morning by Pat McCosker, their union president. All of them said they wanted to stay on the job today out of a real sense of pride and making a proper statement about the captain that they loved for so many years. I know a number of you have worked with him and know him, but on behalf of the entire city of Los Angeles, we send our condolences to the Graff family.
Thank you, Mr. Ludlow. Other tributes? Mr. Villaraigosa.
Yes, members, I'd like to adjourn today in memory of Ms. Vartuhi Sepani Haddadian. She was the grandmother of one of my staff, Irene Ibranosian. Ms. Haddadian was born in a small village in Iran in 1926. She grew up in a modest home with 4 sisters and 2 brothers. At 18, she married the love of her life, Alexan, and together they had 3 boys and 2 girls. As a full-time mother and homemaker, Vartuhi made a beautiful home with meager resources. She was a devout Christian and firmly believed in the Word of God, instilled her faith and values into her children. In October of 2001, she immigrated to the United States and was reunited with her children after being separated from them for nearly 2 decades. Arriving in America and reuniting with her children and grandchildren filled her heart with love and hope, and on Thursday, January 26, Vartuhi passed away after suffering a sudden heart attack. She survived by her brother, sister, 2 daughters, and 6 grandchildren. She will be greatly missed and remembered by those who knew and loved her.
Thank you. Any other tributes? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Council is adjourned.
You are watching